and they have
Here we go! It's time to do this once again! It's time to dim the lights and let the feedback build! 3 clicks and sticks! And we're ready to explode! We sing along!
This content is for informational and educational purposes only. You should not construe any such information or other material as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Nothing contained here constitutes a solicitation, recommendation, endorsement, or offer to buy or sell any securities or other financial instruments whatsoever by Draper Gorin Blockchain, aka DGB, the presenter, or other associated parties for the content being provided. Please do your own due diligence and seek proper counsel.
Boom.
Boom.
Boom. What is up? Yeah, we got Zuda with us. Rankin is not exactly feeling better, but he's rocking and rolling.
Still
He's
buying
online.
NFTs. Still buying NFTs.
He's well.
I must be
I was gonna
delirious.
make a joke that you're well enough to buy NFTs, but maybe it's the other way around. Maybe you're still
I'm
just out of your
delirious.
mind. You're so
I'm delirious.
insane.
Yeah.
I just onboarded them to the Cryptomories. They're supposed to have a console
Woohoo.
game coming out.
Here you go.
All right. You know what?
Bang.
I was thinking I would try to make myself cozier because it's like cloudy and cold outside. So I put my head on before my headphones, and I immediately am regretting it. Hold on. Oh, Kevin's joining us. Hold on. Let's get Kevin on the screen too.
Robbie?
Yeah. Kevin.
Oh yes, King of Tezos.
The king. Hold on.
So
let's see if
I was
can
telling him beforehand
play with
this. I went to Eat Denver, right? It was pretty cool. Other than getting sick and getting the flu, like so many people did. I feel
Sick.
you for all the people who got sick. Kevin,
I
I'm
don't
glad
think
you
I
get
went
it.
to one side event. I think I went to I just
Maybe-
kind of like went back. I did the work, and then
Maybe it was a side
after
event.
the major events were.
So, anyways,
I didn't do
I
the
saw
side
this
events.
project. I saw this project called Forgotten Ruins. I was there and I talked to them. They had their cool cards and they had a comic book, and so I went online and looked and I saw this thing called Rich David of the Surf. And I was like, okay, it's my name. I kind of have to get it.
that is pretty
That's-
cool. Which
it is.
David of the Surf. And
David of the
you're a big fan of the ocean. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna assume surf spelled with a U. That's surf, like in the ocean,
Yeah.
right?
Surf,
There's-
right?
there's that-
I'm like, it must be meant to be.
I
I'm not
just
sure
played
my
with the layout. What do you guys think of this layout? Should
Love it.
It's good.
It's
Hold on,
tolerable for sure.
So beforehand, we were-
Oh, wait. We can do this too. Hold on. I didn't want the
Beforehand-
DGB thing to block. Hold on. Let's see.
beforehand we were
I want
talking
like
about
AI to put us over the if we were sitting in like they do in those like polished podcasts where they're on a couch. It's like good lighting and all that shit.
Yeah.
If the AI could just take our faces and put them on like
hip,
Seamlessly on
good-looking
those
people,
bodies.
all cool, like sitting on a couch and doing the thing. I'm sure that's a thing, but
That's
they don't have to be attractive. They almost never are. That's why they do podcasts.
that's why
instead of
that's what's
TV.
gonna make ours better, Or like it's like when you do those AI picture things, and all of a sudden we're sleeveless with big muscles and like cool hip tattoos, and we're just like,
Apes.
yeah. And we use the word-
There's a House of David now on a movie on Prime Video, David. So good. It's a good time for the Davids.
It's a great time for Davids.
Yeah.
It's a market dip opportunity.
Mm.
Great
Kids
time
are
for the
buying.
zoo to
Make that thing bigger. Show everyone. I saw you post that the other day. You know,
This one,
I
this
don't
one?
I don't actually want I don't actually want you to talk too much, but show that to everyone. That's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, I've seen this for a while. This is circulating again.
Interesting.
Kind of predicted every like top and bottom. These are the good years right here. These are the panic years. And then these are the hard times.
and you buy during the panic.
But look right here, 2026. This is when Bitcoin's going to be at its all-time high. Right?
Well,
Yeah.
something's going to be
Ever?
at all-time high.
Well, yeah, I think Bitcoin. But if we go to like the Bitcoin Pi cycle chart, this is one I talk about all the time. This is why I'm not worried right now. Everybody's panicking and going, oh my God, Bitcoin's falling. Bullshit.
I'm
It's
just looking to
because of
buy
this.
more.
Well, see, Bitcoin Pi cycle chart has indicated every top. We're not even close there. These two lines got to converge in order for it to be at a top. So, I mean, this is just going to be exaggerated out.
There's always a brief retracement, like in any bull run, that
Yeah.
get all like the panic people out. People who came in like, oh, but I thought it was just going to be a straight line. No, this stuff happens too. Do you have more money? You should
Yeah.
buy it. And they're like, no, I put all my money in the thing before. That's it. I'm getting out now. And then they sell.
Well, I look at it right here. I mean, this right here, this
Yeah.
retracement that we just had, is probably
yeah,
this
zoom in on.
right here. It's probably this right here.
The thing
Where
is that we go up by a factor so much with every cycle that when we look at the all-time chart, it's hard to look at that. This is the same pattern again and again and again. But if you take out like the biggest parts and you look at the thing that looks like a flat line right now because it's so like the margin is just so
right
tiny,
here,
it's like this. It's like we are where it was back then.
right
In fact,
here,
even more
this
pronounced.
right here, this right
No,
here,
even more
is
before
this-
that. You can go.
is this.
Yeah.
This right here is this right here. So I mean, dude, we got upwards easily of 120.
Yeah. The
Okay.
double top was a new thing in the last
Yeah.
cycle. So it's not completely the same. I mean, we are going to have new
Well, it's not
things,
completely
but
the same.
I was telling Rankin about a secret calendar I put together for Bitcoin, and he was able to correlate it to the charts. I've been tracking it since 2014 or before, and it's right every single year. And if the person wants to know, I'll just message them. It's gonna crash, and it crashes like clockwork.
So hopefully people are buying the dip. I personally been buying some Ethereum. And then I stick it all in a concentrated liquidity pool against Bitcoin.
That's not a bad idea, actually.
It's not. Because I'm hoping that Ethereum starts to come back against Bitcoin at some point. It's been
I
dead.
mean, I went just that to my mom with her $1 Ethereum, but
so Eric
Just telling
Trump
her-
tweeted something like buy Ethereum, or was that not recent? Or it might have been
he
recent. Some people are going nuts because Eric Trump, who, of course, we know, I get all my financial advice from Eric Trump. I don't know. I think you do too, Alon. He was talking about Ethereum. Let me see.
I mean, just look at this chart.
I'm genuinely interested why you get all your financial advice from Eric Trump.
Oh, of course. I mean, if he's so like not good at financial advice, why is his dad president? Ever think of that? Yeah, look it up.
I mean, look at ETH against Bitcoin. It's just been collapsing.
I'm like,
Well, yeah, I
Should
mean,
I
it's always
not-
going to pronounce.
should I not go down this road?
Which road?
The one about Eric Trump?
No, you should
No,
register what I said as sarcasm, just in case.
Oh,
it
I
wasn't
didn't. I don't
clear.
think like sarcasm.
Oh,
Yeah, assume
you know, there was a really good New York Times. They did a few pieces about this, and one of them they had like these series of videos because I always noticed there were like a significant portion of humans do not detect sarcasm. Like it's very kind of a maybe it's culturally biased by intonations and all of that, but like it showed like what a certain thing that first they show a video and it's like this is what it sounds like. Okay, that's obviously sarcastic. But then they show the same like it was a dramatization of like a man and his wife having a conversation. And then it was like slightly different, like it was slightly off that you could understand how someone else would perceive it. And it doesn't come off sarcastic at all. It comes off in earnest. And it's like, oh, that's why. And after that, I was like, I get it. It is actually very nuanced.
You know, it's
really...
a better representation of that. The song "Albuquerque" by Weird Al. That's sarcasm, but there's a part of the song.
I don't know. Maybe you can sing it for us.
There's a part of the song where the guy's like carrying a couch down the stairs, and the Weird Al's character goes like, "Would you like me to help you with that?" And he's like, "No, I'd like you to saw my arms off." So I did, and then it's like so stupid. It's so good.
Or have whatever you like. Where you can, the song "Have Whatever You Like" where they parodied. That one's pretty good too. You can have a hot dog at Costco. You can go to Walmart and get pants. I can get you mac and cheese. My cousin has a discount at Kinko's.
That's awesome. I love all Weird Al songs, but I think Albuquerque is one of the top ones, the biggest ball of twine in Minnesota. But Albuquerque is really just so stupid. It's funny. Like it just so dumb. It's awesome.
Mama, I killed a man. And that's one of his most popular polkas.
Oh yeah. I like the different polkas too. Hold on. What do you workforce participation. So like okay, tell us what you're looking at, Rankin. By the way, I brought this and now I regret it, but I brought one of my short story collections from Asimov. Awesome. But then as I was looking through it, I was trying to remember which ones we actually discussed. And then I realized that if I sat here and I ended up reading like a 3-page story, even a short one, it would be really boring and weird. But I've got some here. So tell me, you're talking about the workforce participation tweet. Yeah. Why isn't we just gotta have Fred come on here?
We should have Fred come on here, yeah.
All right, I gotta remember to text him. Remind me to text him after this.
But no, workforce participation. A lot of what I think we're seeing right now is from 2000. We had a workforce participation basically declining because of boomers going into retirement, and I think a lot of what we saw was the government subsidizing the labor pool by, hiring a large amount of people and printing money to kind of fill the gap of this loss of the labor force. We bottomed down COVID. Now we're at a point where we're transitioning and getting away from government employment that we beefed up on during this time period, and now we're transitioning to going back towards being more of a public, private sector employment workforce.
Is the green line employment, or what is that?
Well, the green line is workforce participation.
What's the time frame on this? I'm trying to figure out. I can't.
Well, right now this is 1988 over here.
Oh, let's go with like the last 10 years or something. Just I want to zoom in a little. Obviously, less and less people working.
You have to look at it. You have to look at it from a macro perspective. And the macro perspective is from 2000 and the decline from 2000 all the way down towards 2020. So a period of over 20 years where we had massive decline in workforce participation from boomers going into retirement, sucking people out of the workforce in retirement. And then basically, the thing is that's loss of GDP. That's loss of spending. It's loss of everything. And so you have to subsidize that. And so what's government do to subsidize that? Print money.
But they can't print money right now because they've been talking trash about printing money. So they're gonna pump the economy back up by Yeah, they don't want to print money. They'll lower interest rates and then borrow money.
But now what we need to do,
or
is
lend money.
we need to reestablish good money, right? We need to bring back some type of reserve.
Okay,
you
but
need to-
what if we open up Fort Knox and there's no gold there?
Well, then we need Bitcoin. But the point is, these people want to help people. Like Elizabeth Warren, as far as I'm concerned, she's full of garbage. But like, that's being polite. Like helping people. The best way to help people is to give them $1 that actually continues to hold value down the road. Not $1 you're going to losing 20% every 5, 10, 20 years.
Correct.
Or more.
But there'd be no issues with, in my opinion, there'd be no issues with all of the government spending if the services that they offered or that they promised actually happened. If we lived in a state without the homeless epidemic, if we didn't have the drug problems we do in the United States, if we had great health care, you weren't worried about going to the emergency room the other day because like you're sick and you just needed to get checked and it wasn't like a big hoopla, right? Like if all these things existed, we'd probably have no problem with the spending because it's the same as anything else. Like when there's a good service, you don't really stress about the cost as much, right? If on top of things being crazy expensive, the service,
it was more about my life than anything else. But
yes,
I didn't give a shit about the cost of my life.
Well, exactly, but you shouldn't have even had to consider that. You should have already gotten checked out because it was just easy to do, right?
Yes, it was a pain in the ass.
Exactly, and that's.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, and that's where I'm getting at. All the things that Elizabeth Warren wants and tells us about are things that, not all of them, but most of them are things I generally want too. It's that she's had a lifelong career of not providing them for us, and then we still hire her for the job. That's the insane part, right?
Yeah, she's all talk. She's fed by big banks.
Well, 2028 is what I'm waiting for. So I'm currently working on as Kevin calls them, perennial presidential campaign, and I'm aiming for 2028 to make a big boom because we're trying to amp up to over 1 million followers to try to really get a big push in 2028 with Vermin Supreme.
I see this as positive.
Can it be you or a robot?
Well, I could run. I have thought about running, but Vermin has a really well-known name and he's hilarious.
Okay, go Rankin. What were you saying?
I just said I see this as a positive. We need to bring back manufacturing. We need to cut up corporate loopholes where they can do stuff abroad to avoid taxation. This is where tariffs come in. Basically, force companies to come back and do manufacturing in the U.S. We have really old infrastructure in the U.S. We need to upgrade our U.S. infrastructure and get us to be modernized, which unfortunately
that should be a no-brainer, right? Because they've spent billions.
But we have too much regulation.
Regulation. They've already raised or created billions of dollars worth of supposedly, like Green New Deal stuff that's never actually happened, right? So none of those people got the jobs. None of those people did anything. What?
California can't build a train, for God's sakes.
We can't fix our power lines.
Okay, actually, we already have bullet trains here. So what the thing is, one time we couldn't get the train to turn on without turning off the safety, so they got clearance from Amtrak HQ to turn off the safeties. With the safeties off, I was home an hour and a half early because it goes at the speed of a bullet train.
Well, we
just don't have the track to support it.
We don't have it. Well, and the thing is, we've spent the billions and billions of dollars on bureaucratic things to discuss it, but never doing it, right? That's I think the biggest issue.
Blue collar jobs.
Look,
we did pass in California the bullet train, and it was like I remember voting on the bullet train, and then it stalled for many years, and then they altered the plan. And I remember this was shot down in court because you can't do that. Voters voted for the bullet train, but they're like, well, we're going to make a high-speed rail, whatever that is, or more efficient normal rail lines. And then they were just going to, and they're going to do part of the way of what they said they were going to do.
It went outside the budget.
That's not what the money was for. You cannot spend this money on what you think, oh, we'll just do it this way. No, all or nothing. Voters wanted a bullet train, you build a bullet train. Damn it.
Well,
But that's the issue. We have a long, rich history of the voters voting for specific things that the politicians lobby for, or at least run on, and then them not actually doing the things. And
But
so
our
eventually
current-
we get so fed up that we go the opposite direction, or things go nutty like they are right now. If things were efficient, we wouldn't have the problems we have now, but they're super inefficient. Imagine if was in charge of even like a tenth of any budget for any kind of thing, we would have gotten it done. But it just doesn't get done.
Infrastructure could handle a high-speed train with just some patches in certain places. It's not extremely comfortable, but a bullet train, which is about 100 miles faster, would just tear up our current infrastructure.
But the thing is, we've spent more money than it would have taken to build the infrastructure discussing the infrastructure.
I'm
right?
aware. That's stupid.
And that's just money in the hands of literally the people that the most liberal people in our state, at least, don't want to put the money in the hands in. It turns out that the people, running the state that talk about, the billionaires not paying their fair share and all these things, put a disproportionate amount of money into the hands of those billionaires every time they get us to agree on putting tax dollars to work. And it's just total bullshit. And people should be really, really fed up. And I think people should be a little bit excited by all of this unraveling of that bureaucracy. But it's hard to for people when it's not their team doing it, because they assume, and they're rightfully so, that there's some ulterior motive. Rankin's switching his hat, right?
What's this
And
hat
it's just fucking chaos, and it's stupid. Catherine wanted. We have a few messages. We had some from Michaela.
Is there any way to join the conversation?
Catherine, not this time, but if you throw a comment, especially if you want to argue, I'll definitely bring it on screen, and I'll take your side.
What you used to have, which were those
most likely, I will take
so,
your side. Throw something out here.
Alon, to go back to what you're saying, if there was money behind me, I would certainly consider running myself for president, or my bot, or my AI.
That would be really cool. That would be.
We're headed to that.
So you know how Canada has free health and everything. They're also really fucked up.
Of course. I mean, the thing is, I wish that the government could provide us all health insurance and things like that, because I think that's like a basic necessity for human rights. And it should be something that's now taken away from the job situation, right? The only reason, it would
humans are tribal. You belong to the mill tribe.
True. That's we do need some different perspectives on here. So I'd love to have you on maybe next week or another week. But Catherine, throw us anything you want us to discuss or to argue with us about.
It would be nice to see more females in crypto.
Yes, and just in this space in general, Okay, but what I was gonna say is I believe all these things are human rights. The issue is then when you start going into, should the government provide it? Yeah, 100%. Can the government provide it? Not the way they're running things now. It's absolutely, Catherine said, don't run until you understand how the economy works. 1 million%. I think that makes perfect sense. Yeah,
it's in stock, McCain. It's in
Catherine,
stock.
make sure you're following or you're connected with David Rankin and I. I use LinkedIn a little less often, but if you're following, connected with both of us, we can we could plan to have you on.
Yeah,
I understand how the economy works, but can I tell a real story how to deal with the health system in Canada?
Sure.
Okay, so I do cybersecurity. I got someone said, hey, there's voices talking to me in my house and everything's hacked. What the hell is going on? So I did a live Zoom with them, and sure enough, there's voices coming through the speakers and through everything, and everything was being controlled. And I'm like, okay, you do this, this, and this, and I was able to shut it down. Well, then they told their family what happened, and apparently in Canada, if you think someone's crazy, you're allowed to call it in. And she ended up in a psych ward, and it took me 2 weeks to get through to her doctor. And I said, I know you can't say a thing, but you can listen. And I told him from a cybersecurity research company, all this actually happened, and the person isn't crazy. They were going to keep her for another week and a half, and they freed her an hour and a half after I got off the phone. So that's a
Jesus
problem.
Look,
Christ.
but here's yeah, that's absolutely bonkers and crazy. By the way, Catherine, 1000% agree with you. The government has to do a better job, and obviously has failed us so badly that we've allowed this administration in, right? In my opinion.
Also,
Well,
if you
no,
ever get
no,
locked
wait,
up
what-
one day,
No, here's the thing.
Suda's not going to bail you
This
out.
is, by the way, this is why we're at a certain situation we are at in places like California. There are definitely 1,000,000% people on the streets that need our help, and there's nothing we can do about it because the pendulum had to, family health. That's it. But there's a crazy moment, right? You go to the 20s and 30s in California, like your wife looks at you sideways and you go like, I'm throwing her in the mental institute and giving her a lobotomy. Like that's basically what people would do. Or they had a child born with special needs or something like that, and they would just put them in a hospital and maybe visit them, maybe not. And the hospitals were the same places as the prisons, right? It was and all of those things are a failure of our system. And then things started changing. Sorry, I'm getting a phone call. Things started changing, and
But we overcorrected.
and we overcorrected to the point where now it violates somebody's civil liberties to take them off the street when they're asleep in the gutter, on drugs.
No, we
or
overcorrected.
sick. And
it. Yeah. Well,
I'm gonna mute myself for 1 second. I gotta.
Because my mom she's run like a state hospital for decades, and like it's always the worry about like looming government cuts and everything. And like after One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest came out, and everyone started and stuff related to it, people freaking out about psychosurgery and like and even psychopharmaceuticals, and they're like, oh, these are just torture chambers that we need to like slow down. So, and yeah, there was of course a lot of misconduct and everything, but in that was just like music to the ears of anyone who wanted to rein in government spending on things. So at the state level, there were a lot of like so many state hospitals were just shut down all over the country, or like funding cut, ultimately shutting down, or like consolidating several of them into one. Maybe a state has one of them or something like that. And for all the talk you ever hear after, it's like, okay, this is not like a gun like some people will be like, okay, we were gun control. Others will say, no, the answer is mental health. We need to improve mental health. It has nothing to do with guns. It's like, okay, if you really believe that about the mental health, and I have no party, but let's just say the people who talk about this all the time are Republicans, well, then put the legislation out there to fund mental health. Are you willing to do that? No, of course you're not, because you're just waiting for the talk to end so that you can say thoughts and prayers and then go back to not putting money into making this resolution.
Well,
and you're right about everybody forgetting by the next time.
But we're also we're also at the same time, I don't normally do this, but to give them credit, if they decided for the federal government to give billions of dollars that's needed to support mental health and drug addiction and issues in our country, do we have a system that would use that money efficiently to actually help people? We don't. We just have this big bureaucratic shit show of a system that doesn't get the money in the hands of the actual people who need it, right? And that's why things like, think about like the fact that like a really great organization like Wounded Warrior exists to help people who come back from serving their country in wars to need to help them because the government isn't doing their job. Like that's I like to use those examples because it seems so extreme, because even if I disagree what the government is sending our kids out to fight for, right? You have to agree that they're doing it for our country. They're doing it because they've been sold this idea for our country. And then they come back and they have to fight to get help at the veterans hospitals and the things like that, or stuff like that happens, right? It's absolutely insane and offensive and not okay, right? So it's these things exist. So like, let's say we tried to fix or at least look, the problem might be something else. And that might be something that takes many, many, many years. But in the short term, to help these people that need help, you have to do something. But nobody can do it, right? And that's nuts. And that's the big problem. So both sides are right, and both sides are much more wrong. And that's the issue. And nobody's rewarded for doing anything and failing unless you're private. Right? Government people don't get reelected when they fail. They get reelected for saying the right thing out loud and never doing anything.
I beg your pardon.
Right? They've failed miserably, but when they actually do something and fail, they're destroyed. Go Zuda.
Arguable. Oh, you're muted.
The privatization of mental health, like group homes, is $20,000 a month minimum, which is insane. So you have to get someone like a school district or regional center, if you know who they are, to fund that. And it's absolutely absurd because no one can afford it themselves. And if we talk about the homeless, I tried helping some homeless people, to the degree I could with some finances, not a lot. And they just went back to their own ways. I'm not saying that there aren't homeless people that want help and need help. There are, but there are certainly homeless people who prefer to be homeless or have vices that they will not give up. And that's my rant.
You're muted.
I think Catherine is right. I had to put this one up just to say, Catherine, cool it. We don't want to get inappropriate.
If I wasn't so old, I would marry you. Was that directed to me?
It was direct. I don't know. You don't have to, but we do need a solution now. And yeah, my solution is to be well. That's do not try to help. Yeah, that's true too. You can't help. The thing is, but we're humans, right, Catherine? It's impossible sometimes to just sit and watch somebody, or somebody comes up to you. My move always used to be, and now it's changed a little bit depending on if I'm with my kids or not or something like that. But my move always, when somebody asks me for money, when I was walking around, when I had an office in Santa Monica or whatever, I always asked somebody if I could buy them lunch. And most of the time, unfortunately, if somebody's asking for money and they're homeless, they want to buy drugs. And when you offer to buy them food, they're not interested. But 1 out of 10 times, if you say, can I buy you lunch? They'll say yes. And you just walk into the nearest place and buy them whatever they want, right? It doesn't change my life at all. Hopefully it can change theirs. I don't know. So that's my only move, but I wouldn't recommend it to a small woman, right? I wouldn't want my wife to do it. I wouldn't want to do it with my kids are there, because unfortunately, like you said, you can't, it's hard to help because they're not well. And sometimes people get violent. Sometimes there's issues, right? I like that. I am humorous, not inappropriate. And this let's
right. But also we should,
nobody wants, you're right. Nobody wants it.
It's people experiencing homelessness, which I think it's not like, oh, politically correct woke. No, this is actually a really good correction to have. It used to be, and we can all agree that this term has evolved over the years. But
we can also agree. I will poke. But then I agree with you, but I'm going to just argue really quick. I agree with you, and then I want you to finish the statement. But I also need people who watch that want to shut conversations like this down by saying, shut the fuck up. Every single one of us
Well,
cares.
just
That's why we're having the
encouraging
conversation. Now we should say the right terminology that is right and that doesn't make people feel bad, because that's the human decent thing to do. But also don't shut people down when they accidentally use, the wrong word.
Right.
Go, Kevin. Keep going.
Yeah, so we'd call them hobos and tramps, and then
Some good
we
songs
realized
about
that was a
hobos and
problem.
tramps.
Yeah. So by the mid 20th century, it was transient or derelict. Those were the things. So it was more neutral. It's like, oh, they're transient. It's like, but then it wasn't getting to the point, I guess. Like that was a disrespect or something. So street people, well, at least we have the word people in there, and then the homeless. Homeless was the other term. But then like to realize it's like, well, no, once it's kind of the same thing as hobo. Like, and growing up when I would hear like, it's like the same kind of comments about, like, I'd hear people think of the homeless as just like as though they were like a subhuman race of people. And it's just like, oh no, don't feed the homeless, like don't feed the animals. So it's like, no, people experiencing homelessness. Yeah.
I do appreciate that.
There
I like
are more
streets,
politically
but
correct
I get
terms,
why
there are more
there was
extreme terms.
there was a hardcore band or a punk band. I don't even remember if the band was any good, but I thought their name was the greatest name of all times back in the day. There was a band called Streets, and it stood for skating totally rules, everything else totally sucks. And I thought that was pretty cool. Sorry, I had to break away from being too serious. My brain doesn't allow things to get too
George
serious.
Carlin had a good bit about how like we can solve a house. He would say that was the first time I ever heard houselessness, because like a home is where the heart is. These people need houses. Come on, get to the point. It's like, oh yeah, that's true. He would say like, yeah, like we have golf courses. If you just took all the golf courses, you would solve homelessness like today. And it and why do we not do it? Because we want to preserve this arrogant elitist sport. And then he went off a rant about homeless. But I would suggest everyone listen to, there's this episode in the first season, I believe, of Revisionist History by Malcolm Gladwell. There's an episode of Revisionist History with Malcolm Gladwell. It's a podcast where he talks about the Brentwood, which is very close to me, the Brentwood Country Club, and also the very interesting situation where like how they have these like tax loopholes where they should be paying hundreds of millions of dollars in tax, but they end up paying like 200,000 a year, whereas everybody else would have to for the amount of land that they have, they would be paying the millions. But like and then right nearby there's the VA office where and recently this changed. Like after COVID, it changed, and they finally built some like micro housing village, which is running smoothly, from my understand. In all this empty space, most of the VA space, that's this massive blob next to UCLA. If you look at a map in Brentwood, in Westwood, it's not used. There's no buildings there. Like there's nothing. It's just like it in case they would do it one day. But it's just like but before this, especially when he did the episode, I'll toss to you, Zuda. I'll toss to you after him. Then you had just the rows and rows on the sidewalks of people currently experiencing housing insecurity who had tented up because they would just be able to go in for their treatment or whatever. But like the government's right there. It's right there. The hospital's right there. I mean, your relief check and everything.
I never saw
that land.
I never saw a larger homeless encampment than going to City Hall in Los Angeles. That just tells you. Go Zuda and Rankin. I don't know which one of you.
Go ahead, Zuda.
Okay, so to riff off Kevin about the Veteran Center, there was a deal made over 100 years ago. A family gave land to the Veteran Center for veterans to be taken care of and like homes and such there. And we had kept the deal up pretty well until 65 years ago, when part of UCLA's sports land is now on the veterans' land. And you were saying everything's empty because the veteran system will not honor that agreement. And there's been large protests over it. And so they have land to help the veterans, but they aren't using the land the way it was given to them for, which is, in my opinion, corruption of the system and because it was given for a specific purpose that Kevin just outlined. And correction myself, the 20,000 a month is only for children in group homes. I don't know the adult price.
All right.
It's not surprising that they're not utilizing.
I have the
all
number
their
actually. They
resources
should
to
be.
help the
Kevin, you don't
veterans.
get to
Go,
talk.
Rankin.
You don't get to talk.
Go.
I'm going to touch on the movie Wicked that Catherine mentioned about. There's a question that gets brought up about that. Are people born wicked, or do they have wicked thrust upon them? I would tend to say that wickedness was thrusted upon us partially because of our loss of our currency and the debasement in currency. Because what happens is when you have to work your whole life, you have no means of storing your value of what you've done, considering that life is abundance, right? If you have no way to store that and it continues to erode and rot away, you have to continue to work and extract. And then if you're extracting it from other people. We live in a world of abundance. When you go out there and you produce, you garden, you produce more, and then you share it. If everybody had enough and was able to share, because whatever they did keep was able to store and hold value, we would have more abundance, right? In general. But the problem is we've entered into a system of decay where you have to exploit others because the value that you are holding is continuing to erode. And so you have to continue to make up for the erosion of that value. And when you have that kind of system, it's toxic. And we live in currently a toxic system that has been thrust upon us largely in part by other people. What she say? You want to disrupt the system?
I think
disrupt it. David, be creating sadness.
it's too true, right? And I think that the issue is that we don't get at the root of that problem. We're the same people who are the biggest perpetuators of that problem are also the people who they benefit the most from war, from division, from us pretending like we're on separate teams, right? And Zuda,
we educate. To answer Catherine's question, we educate others, and we awaken, and we show love and compassion, and we set the example, and we explain this to other people, because most people don't understand it. Look, you work your entire life, and you don't know that you're being debased and your values being eroded away until you spent your entire life working.
Bro, that's capitalism. Right, and that's what my friends will say. Be like, I know. And then the other side will be like, no, bro, that's socialism. What you're talking is socialism, right? Both sides have an answer that's totally, completely untrue. Because if we had either of those in its purest form, we wouldn't have this problem, right? What we have is corruption, right? And what we have is this both sides of it, right? If it was socialism, if we had socialism, then we'd all, be taken care of.
There's a reason why I'm a Bitcoiner, and there's a reason why I like gold and silver.
Yeah, Zuda, go.
Frank, Maravi's supposed to go, but this is on topic. So, first off, I have friends at the Vatican, and we had a little discussion. I said, "You guys say that."
I'm scared of those friends.
Wait, what?
So here's where it went. They said, "You say you're born into the world." And you were into the world of sin, but you aren't born with sin. So you also say the first person to cast a stone, if you have not cast a stone, you haven't sinned. So what you're saying is a baby can launch a nuclear weapon, and because it hasn't sinned. So their arguments, we went back and forth on this for a year or so. And
Zuda, you are speaking logic to the most illogical of things, which is faith, and then you're trying to use the most illogical logic thing at them, which I know you're just trolling, but it's, dude, come on.
But here's
how did you become friends with these people at the Vatican?
Oh, I can answer that after you talk. Okay, and here's what we reached. They reached, if the baby has any joy Prior to launching the nuclear weapon, it has sinned because playing Minecraft is a sin because the person enjoys playing Minecraft. So if the baby experiences any joy before pressing the button, it is sinned.
We're
It cannot
human.
press it.
Humans love explosions. They love fireworks. A baby that doesn't know what they're doing will see an explosion and be delighted. That doesn't mean that they enjoyed dropping a nuclear weapon.
No, but they enjoyed the explosion. Therefore, it's a sin, according to them. Anyways, just
Hey, they're the
wanted to-
ones sending smoke signals out of a thing. You know, that sounds sinful to me. If an explosion is sinful, right? I don't know.
Okay.
There's a lot worse things they do. I'm not going to go there.
So I don't know if it's been discussed. I've had two grandfathers that were both missionaries. One was a missionary, the first missionary ever in Borneo, and the first missionary, and then a missionary in Africa. And so I grew up.
Was it a Catholic missionary?
No, just a Protestant missionary.
Okay.
But the thing is, and like I kind of look at talking about people at crypto and explaining capitalism, explaining how our money's broken. It's part of just helping people to understand. It's like, well, what was my form of missionary, being a missionary? Because you have to go and educate.
Spread the good word.
Yeah, you have to understand. People have to understand the issues of why we have issues in society, right? And it's going out there and helping other people, and it's being selfless.
Right. That's why I asked about the Catholic, because you can go those Catholic missionaries. I love there's a plaque, and I know that I'm going to get into too aggressively controversial, but I'm not going to totally dive in. But I love that there's a plaque in the Santa Barbara Botanical Gardens, which is one of my favorite places. Like, I love gardens at different cities and things like that. And I'll go with the family. I'll try to convince them we should sign up for the annual thing, because what bad can come from giving a nonprofit that's going to keep a garden going? Like, I think that's awesome. So most of the time, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some history and I don't know. But I just love at the Santa Barbara Botanical Gardens, because then I love going on a rant and my kids are like, okay, Dad, we get it. But there's a plaque that's dedicated to the Native Americans who, under the guide of the missionaries from the mission in Santa Barbara, the Catholic mission that's there, the Native Americans, under the guide of the missionaries, created this aqueduct and this water system. I was like, that's a really nice way of saying slaves. And then I start going into the whole diatribe. But it is funny, right? Like, talk about history. But there is there's a difference, right? Between, there's people who go on these missionary missions to Africa, and they do these things to help people, and then there's people like Rankin who are spreading the good word of Bitcoin, which I think is a very noble cause. But it's funny. We're having this conversation today that
well, it's not more just about Bitcoin. It's about understanding about finance and understanding.
Well, think about the way we were raised. We talk about this a lot. I got a job at one point at Amazon. I sold my Amazon stock so I could put a down payment on my condo, right? I want to raise a family. I want to put down payment. Every rich person that I told that to over time, because I was, I would joke about, man, if I would have saved that Amazon stock, I could have bought the condo in cash a few years later, whatever, right? But every single person that I tell that to that came from means goes, why didn't you borrow against your stock? And I go, I grew up in the back of an auto parts shop. Nobody told me you could borrow against the stock you own. Nobody told me that these things exist until I got into DeFi and people started showing me these things. I realized, all the things that we're doing in this space are the things that the top wealthiest people in the world have been doing forever. And we just didn't know. Who knew, right? Our parents were immigrants, or our parents were not rich, and we just had to survive, right? And what David's talking about too is also, the erosion of our wealth, right? If you took money and you saved it under your mattress, right, or some version of that, put it in a savings account, whatever, nobody told us we were losing money if we didn't put that money to work. And some of the things that I don't really, subscribe to, right, but are in the texts of, the biblical stuff and all of the religious things. Rank and I were talking about once, and you were talking about how there was things in the Bible about taking your money and putting it underground and watching it sprout, and all these metaphors for what you
Baby
should be
nuclear
doing
weapons.
with your wealth. Reagan,
by the way, we should talk about,
what Bible verse did they discuss babies and nuclear weapons?
They didn't talk about that.
I'm just fucking-
we should talk about Pi, which just launched. It went under the radar of a lot of people, but it's
Pi.
number 11 for market cap right now. If you don't know what it is,
I know.
it's a network for people watching, like where you'd have a little social circle in your app on your phone, and you would press a button every day and mine it. What they call
Wasn't
mine.
that
It's definitely
scammy
proof
thing
of
that was
stake.
like freaking from like 7 years ago?
I mean,
Yeah.
there were a couple scammy
Never
things always
participated.
around, but like Pi was always one that had respect. Like it was developed by like Stanford data scientists and everything, and it hadn't launched though. It was going and it was an interesting system, and like you'd invite all your people to also do it. There was no consequence to this. Like you just press a button a day. Maybe it's worth something, maybe not, probably not, but whatever. Just do it. It's a button you press every day. So I did it. Mostly consistency for the past few years since I had found out about it, and yeah, and they had like a kind of a like the rate of amount of Pi you would mine, like after it hit a certain amount of users, it would go in half, and then that way it would keep it competitive in that way. So it was an interesting, very simple but interesting system, and now they finally launched the network after all these years. It's at it's at $9 billion, almost $10 billion market cap, $9.8 billion market cap. Each coin is at 1.35. I activated mine. I have about 1,000 Pi, maybe more if I mined about. Well, it's interesting. I mined like over 2,600 or something, but you have to do KYC. And the people who you brought into mine, and you actually get income from the people you bring on board and what they mine. So you get like a small amount of that, kind of like a Ponzi kind of multi-layer marketing. Well, I mean, the reason why it's not. I mean, it's good. I mean, we could call a lot of things. The reason why it doesn't qualify as a Ponzi. I mean, there are a number of reasons, but there's a finite amount. So it's not like going under the premise of like, yeah, you can just keep bringing people in, That's what Ponzi schemes do. It's like, no, you run out of people in the world who you will be able to bring in, which means most people will lose. Majority people will lose if you keep doing that. So that's why Ponzi schemes are bad. But so at launch, it's out there, and the price is like holding well. I thought there would be massive dumps, but I think there's maybe something to the system and people waiting, and but who knows? Maybe it could still crash down tomorrow. And now I regret not doing that KYC thing maybe 2 years ago when they first introduced it for when they started letting people run nodes, which would have let you mine much more Pi. Because to me it was like, I don't want to put my, I'll press this button every day, but I don't want to give them my information. But then we all did it. It's like, all right, fine. So that's the norm now. I mean, I think WorldCoin might have an interesting future as well.
It's a couple days away from Pi Day, just FYI.
Oh yeah, 3/14. The Ides of March. Ides of March is the 14th, right?
Sorry, Kevin, if I was rude earlier.
No, you are not. How do you know people in the Vatican? Who are these people?
So the guy
Are
was
you
on
the Pope?
No, I'm not the Pope. There are some routes where I could possibly become the Pope. I'm not interested. So one of the guys was on Twit TV ages ago, like 2010, and I became friends with him. And he went into the Vatican, and I'm kept in contact with him. And then he opened a small gaming channel. There was a lot of Vatican people, some non-Vatican people, and that's where we had that. That's where we had that in-depth conversation. And the quote is, "Let the one who is let him who is without sin cast the first stone." And it also says you're born into a world of sin, not saying you have sin, but being born. So yeah, that's the whole thing about how you can launch a nuke. Well, a baby can launch it.
I don't think, here's my feelings about religions and stuff. I think there's lots of people who utilize these what I believe to be metaphors and stories and things for really good stuff, right? They want to help their communities. They want to research them, look at them, and find good and find ways to do good, right? I don't believe that there could be a God that would be like, oh, and there could be a heaven, and they're like, well, Zuda found the loophole. He launched that nuke, killed millions of people, but he gets into heaven because he figured it out, right? Like, I don't think that world could exist. They're both very conflicting to my non-religious mind, but I am a little bit spiritual in the idea of karma and things like that.
It's really easy. Religion's a collage. And if you look at the overall picture of all religions, what's it tell you? It tells you to love your neighbor as you love yourself. It's as simple as that.
That's right. And a lot of people use certain words from their religions to weaponize it and treat people wrong.
Yeah.
And that's where I get really mad. By the way, my favorite thing to do, and this is just reminding me of it, is it's so childish and stupid, but I get a disproportionate amount of joy when I see people protesting something that I don't believe is a fair thing, and they're using their religion in some way. My favorite thing to yell at these people is "See you in hell." I just get the most stupid, like childlike joy out of yelling that at people who are using their religion to treat somebody badly. You know, like, you know, people, you know, I don't know, right? But that's exactly it, right? Can anyone disagree with the statement, treat your neighbor the way you want to be treated, right? If everyone lived that way, we'd live in a utopia.
My neighbor doesn't like being talked to. I love being talked to.
Well, I don't think that means so literally, but it also depends on a mood. I can talk nonstop. I barely talk to my neighbors, right?
I try talking to him, but it's like, rah, 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 rah. He's a nice guy, though. He really is nice.
We have to understand that some of us are pretty weird, and we could have different vibes and styles, right?
Just to make it clear, I'm not saying that the baby should launch nuclear weapons.
You just figured out the loophole.
I can also tell you how there are werewolves in the Bible. You can interpret it a billion different ways.
Of course. But that's the point, right? That's kind of, I think that should be the point, or at least that's what a lot of people say is the point, and those are the things I like. Any piece of art, for example, right? The best pieces of art can be interpreted different ways by different people. And you might need it one way one day, and you might need it a different way another day. Or you might be going through something in your life and you might interpret something a certain way, and other people would be like, you're out of your mind. That's not the right thing. But that's kind of the whole point in all of these things. Historically, none of it makes sense in terms of like this Bible was not created, you know, in the last couple thousand years. It was taken from another religion, which was taken from another religion. But that's not the point, right? If you're looking at it as a scholar or person that wants to do good and do like what Rankin says, which is treat your neighbor right and spread that word, it doesn't matter if you're Jewish or Christian or Muslim, or if you even believe that the same dude was the dad of the creators of all those religions. If you do believe that, you should love each other more because you're family. If you don't believe it,
We're all family.
right? That we are. We should feel that way because we all live on the same planet. We all share the same limited resources, and we all should freaking treat each other with respect, whether you agree or not with what each other
Get
says.
out of here, you hippie, with all your crazy.
I'm
young
totally
people
leaning in.
ideas.
I
It's the
totally
next
have been
progress
leaning
of
into all the
evolution.
hippie bullshit lately. I'm really a fan of it.
The next
I'm not
progress of
saying-
evolution
Well, that's
is
not.
us ourselves. And
Say-
It's
say
not
that
going to
again?
get you invited to the next.
I would
podcast.
love to get into evolution, but I'm not saying.
Wait, hold on. I want to hear what Rankin said because he's sick and I didn't
the
hear
next
it.
process of our evolution of getting past ourself and our nature to be self-preserving. Rather than being self-preserving, we should be preserving as a race and as a species for us as a whole, not just an individual. And the problem is our system encourages us to be individuals, right? They want us to divide us because if you divide the people and keep them as individuals, they're easier to conquer. As a whole and as a collective, we are stronger as a people.
There's only one group, like to round this all out, and then if we want to do final thoughts or words of other things, like Timed Brandon is talking about going to NFT NYC, so we should maybe mention that in case we got some people who want to meet up there. But what I was just going to say is
the Gulf Conference too.
the greatest war profiteers in the world, right, are JP Morgan. That still exists, at least in the form. There's probably people behind the shadows and things, but the greatest ones that still exist in a large public-facing organizations are JP Morgan and the Catholic Church, right? That's what we need to know about who has benefited the most from division and from war, right? Are the largest organizations in the world. It turns out that, you know, if we were run by communities and things like that, we'd treat each other a lot better, I think. And we wouldn't benefit from the division, but they profit off of our division, like, you know, straight up. And they are also the ones who are profiting from that erosion of value that we were talking about before. Zuda, go, and then let's mention something about crypto so we don't fully go.
Mission Pi.
The Catholic Church is also the Roman Empire, and the Roman Empire has gold, and Bitcoin is digital gold.
I don't know if they have Bitcoin.
They probably do behind the scenes in some holdings in some way and something, but I don't know. And I kind of hope they don't, right? I hope I don't. It's a double-edged sword when we see governments decide to have Bitcoin in their, you know, in their
well, there was some conspiracy that the OGs were selling off because they didn't like the fact that the government was now talking about buying Bitcoin.
I would feel the same way if I was a Bitcoin maxi. The maxis who are happy about this are not maxis, right?
Right.
They're not. And I respect when people are insane and obsessed with something really specific, even if I disagree, because I really get energized from really obsessed people, like for people who are true to themselves, even if I disagree. What I don't like is hypocrisy, right? Like that rubs you the wrong way. And that's why I just laugh at all the maxis who you know, are clearly hypocrites when, you know, they're excited when government does certain things that the whole reason they're in the space was because they don't believe in the borders. They don't believe in the governments. They don't believe in these things. But the rest of us can be somewhere in the middle, taking care of our families and laughing at it and hopefully, you know, doing what's right. But okay, Brandon, timed, dude. We got to get you on here, and he's trying to make it to NFT NYC. When is NFT NYC? I haven't heard much from it this year, and I haven't. But Brandon, maybe come on and tell us about it next week and stuff. But NFT.NYC. Let's see when that is. Is that? Oh, it's in June. Okay, we got time. In the summer. We should go to NFT NYC. It's fine excuse to be in New York at that time.
Come to TesDev in Cannes this year. Cannes.
That sounds
In France.
TesDev.
We got the link.
Let's TesDev. When is that? When is TesDev? That's pretty cool.
It is in July.
So if anyone is planning on going to NFT NYC, or if you're now hearing Kevin talk about TesDev, contact us or participate next week. We'll talk about people's plans. You got Times Rankin, you got Times direct contact, right?
I think so. Yeah, I do.
Hey, next week we can continue this conversation. Maybe not talk too much about going down that rabbit hole, but we should have Timed on. We should have Catherine on. She had a lot to say today. It'll be fun to get other differing opinions or just more varied opinions. Kevin, you just shared a TesDev tweet.
There is one thing that we should share.
July 3rd in France. Okay. What were you gonna? Oh yeah, Rankin. What did you want to share?
So right now, if you haven't looked at it yet, we've launched a product called Portraits.
Oh yeah, everyone should check it out. Portraits. Did you put it in the? Oh here.
Yeah, that should be it. That should be it.
One of our team members launched this. Everyone should check it out. It's a great way to get cool looking photos of yourself, like LinkedIn images you want to use and stuff like that. It's not like there are the goofy fantasy ones, but there's also just real looking pictures and stuff. It is a lot of fun. And we should, everyone should check that out. Try it out. And give us some feedback.
Bring it up on the screen. Or I can do that, I guess.
Let's see.
I got it.
Yeah. Okay. You bring it. Cause I don't have a logged in version to show. I guess you could just show the homepage and show the slider of the before and after.
Now I'm trying to figure out where my screen is.
You drop it? Or what did you say, Kevin?
I was looking at it. I thought, and it's like put in 8 to 12 pictures.
Yeah,
or
you want to
something.
put in like 8 to 10 pictures of yourself from different angles and things like that, so that it trains the AI to know you really well. And then you can create all sorts of pictures. You can say like, clean shaven in a suit or whatever, different ones. Look at, I love that Sergey, he's our team member who built this, has the most badass picture he used. Just slide it back and forth, like look at him, like it's pretty great. There's me. I'm like holding an orb, like holding the moon. Hey, I'm wearing the same shirt. Oh no, I'm not. It's a different one.
So if you haven't checked it out, it's totally worth checking out.
There's Nate, right?
Let me see if I can sign in real quick. I haven't played with it in a while.
Oh, see. Check it out. It's really fun. Everyone should check it out. Portraits.com. And then, here's some, click on you. Let's see. Can I like zoom into your screen and see it a little bigger? Yeah, slightly.
But yeah, it basically just generates AI photos.
Very cool. I'll check it out. And for you guys, I put a link to
Here's
my...
Your shoe. That was good.
Funny.
That happens.
It's still AI generated, so there are a few issues as well.
That's really cool. Who came up with this?
We've been working on it for a while, but Sergey, our one of our team members, he's more on the technical side. He was David's CTO from Total. He built this, him and his team.
Well, it's totally cool.
That's cool. See, at the recording studio. That's rad.
So all sorts of good stuff.
Yeah, it's legit.
Oh my God.
Right? It's legit.
It's really cool. This is really, really cool.
Yes.
I have a lot of photographer friends who are very upset about this kind of stuff because if you're a photographer, like an artist or whatever, most of your money comes from doing portraits, corporate shots, personal shots, and whatever. And then because of this, they've lost a lot of business.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is,
look, this is like very real looking, Although everyone in the background
the
is
shadow was really good. The one before this you just showed.
Show the one before this.
No, there's another one. Yeah, that one. That one is like, I mean, I'm talking about the shadow specifically. Like it's a very kind of realistic. Like I wouldn't think that I wouldn't assume that was AI.
That's kind of the point, right? Is these AI ones that like obviously there's like these fantasy ones where you're like holding a sword and you look like you're in Lord of the Rings or something, right? But the ones where it looks like a real photo shoot thing, I would know that that's an AI because Rankin doesn't drink, so he'd never be sipping on a whiskey, right? So the horse, that's pretty great.
The problem with this technology, while as amazing as it is, it's affecting photographers, like Kevin said. It's also affecting people who are trying to date online, and scammers are using it to scam women, and it's a major problem.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, they'll use the AI ones to scam, but the beauty of these is it's meant to look like you. Like these look like Rankin didn't go, adjust his hairline or make it, make him look like a different person. Yeah, like most of these look like they could just be good pictures of him, right? And that's the point.
True.
Not like that doesn't look like it's not him, right?
True.
So
it looks like Rankin.
Right. The scam would come from him saying like, check out the view from my boat, and then trying to trick somebody into thinking he owns a boat, right? But that can happen even if you do get a normal picture on a boat.
So,
like
it. What is this
cool. The fork plugin thing?
Ooh.
What was that?
So, it'd be cool.
Portraits.
No. The thing that Zuda sent.
Oh, what were you saying, Suda?
I was saying it would be cool is to hook up. If Rankin wants me to clone his mind using my sentient system, I could have his pictures talk as him. I just need one of you to let me clone your mind.
How long does it take to clone a mind? Like, how long does it take to upload my mind onto?
Not long at all. It's mainly assisted.
Was that meant to be a diss or?
No. I'm being factual. Getting the data isn't hard at all. but putting it together shouldn't take more than a week or two.
Really? Well, how long
Yeah.
would I have to be? Do you have to connect someone to a machine? Do you just have to ask me
No,
18,000
So
questions?
it's just public data. I grab all the public data and any private info you want to share, and any private data and any writings you want to enter, and anything you want to train it on. I have a slogan: buy yourself before you die. So you help train it and talk to it. So it's you, and then
And
you
it's your
can have,
voice.
and it has your voice, and it can do things for you while you're alive, and it can be you after you die for loved ones.
I've been having this thought a lot lately.
Like
and this goes along with what you're saying, Zuda, where I was thinking about this the other day. I had a friend who passed away, and then I was thinking about, like who you go to for advice in certain situations. And as a human, whether we know it or not, we go to people whose advice we want, when we want it, right? I don't go to Rankin to get advice about I'm going to frivolously go spend and waste a bunch of money. I know he's a frugal dude and he'll say that's a stupid idea, and he'd be right? But I might go to my friend who does like gambling and be like, hey, should I go buy this crazy car? Because I know what answer I'm going to get. And I know those are stupid examples, extreme, but like that's kind of the point, right? Like you really almost always do that, right? You know which friends, whether you mean to or not, your wife will give you a certain type of advice, your parent might give you a certain type of advice, most people don't do the hard thing and go to someone who differs from what they want, because we pretty much know our best friends and our family members, right? So maybe there's something in there. I don't know exactly even where I was going with that thought, but there is something to me uploading something. If I existed in the cloud and I died one day, what kind of advice are my kids really coming to me to get? They'd be coming to me for the advice that they know they want anyway. So you almost want to let your children train you in a way, because I know how my grandparents would feel about certain things, and I think about them, right? You get spiritual, you think about your parents, your grandparents, and what they would say or do or whatever. But you're really just talking to yourself, because you're just going by this idea you have of them. I think what my grandparents do, but my grandparents were so old when I was a little kid with them, they basically, spoiled the shit out of me and then they died. So do I really know how they feel about something? Would a 50-year-old version of my grandfather, agree with all the things that I do? No, but the version of him I have in my head would. Would you be hurting your legacy a little bit by having your true self? Or do you want this more evolved Zen version of yourself to exist forever so that your family can come to it and you can basically tell them the advice they want to hear? Because that's really what you're going to do anyway. And you want to know that your family and your people are behind you, right? Like, it's an interesting thought.
Let your kids
like what happens? I don't want it to be corrupted, right? What if, or what if I just have a bad day when I'm training it and I just like, what? That's stupid, and that's not really what I believe. But everyone,
there's a solution for that. It's supposed to filter out things that are contradictory to yourself that you don't phone home as consistently.
You know what would be the greatest? Suda, we need to do the opposite of we need to have a opposite version, because my favorite thing in the world when I have an idea is to argue with someone about it. And I usually argue with someone I agree with the most. Like if I really genuinely disagree with you, I don't find joy in arguing with you. I just don't like it, right? Like I think most people I disagree with in a serious thing, I don't like them and I don't want to hang with them. But usually when I'm arguing with someone, it's because I love them and I like the argument and it's a fun thing. We should, build some kind of AI thing that purposely argues with you about ideas that helps you flesh them out and helps you think things through, because you don't evolve by surrounding yourself with a bunch of people that agree with you. That's the bubble we're in right now with politics and things like that, right?
Mine will happily disagree with you if it thinks you're wrong.
Exactly, but if it's trained on me, it shouldn't ever think I'm wrong.
Right, but the current version is trained on itself.
Yeah, but people evolve and change too, right?
Yeah.
I know we're getting silly,
Ooh.
and now hey, we're way over time.
By the way, Alon,
Any
have
last
you
things you
this
guys wanna
entire
talk
time
about?
we've been here? Have you said thank you once? Have you said thank you once to since this entire time?
For what? Thank you.
He wants me to do this, and I
Oh,
think
didn't-
he's trying to say
someone
thank you
doesn't watch the
everyone for
news.
watching. Is this what you wanted me
Oh,
to
yeah,
do,
yeah. Oh, good
or are
idea.
you trying
Zuda, do you want
to
to
tell
fill
me
him
to
in?
be
Zuda gets it.
grateful?
Zuda
Are you
gets it.
trying-
Fill him in.
So DGB.VC, if you're an early stage company, if you're an investor in the space and you want to get involved in our portfolio of early stage companies, get in touch, sign up for the newsletter. We usually do have these very random philosophical conversations in these
get a
things.
lot more grateful.
But what I do want to say is thank you to everyone who's watching. Thank you, Kevin, for being here. I love you guys. Thank you, Zuda, for being here. You are awesome. Thank you, Rankin, for being here. I can't believe you're on here while you're sick, but you just don't know how to not work. I had to yell at Rankin so many times the last week to like go sleep and go offline. He didn't listen at all, which is one of the reasons why I love him too. You guys are awesome. Thank you for being here. Kevin, am I being grateful and thankful enough? We are so
No,
lucky.
you're not getting the joke.
for
You didn't watch
being
the
here. I don't know.
Zelensky. So there
Oh.
was a meeting with Zelensky and Trump and
So you're
JD
gonna just
Vance.
devolve this into more arguing by saying, "Are you thankful?"
I thought it was the most commonly understood reference in the world, but I'm talking to like half the
I've been
group here doesn't know what it is.
you know what? I've been trying to turn off
Not
my
okay.
phone when I'm not working. I'm either working or
Did
with
you know
my
there was a
family.
crypto
And I'm
summit
trying
at the
to-
White House last
Yeah,
week?
yeah, that
Did
was
Tim
interesting.
go? Did Tim Draper go?
No, but I did give some love to a politician. You know, every time I say something nice about a politician, I throw up a little bit in my mouth, but I gave love to Tom Emmer because I think he deserves it. I disagree with him on so many freaking things, but he's been beating the drum for crypto being a nonpartisan issue, and he understood Bitcoin before any of the other politicians and showed up to the events and really lobbied hard, and he was there, and I thought he deserved a little love. So I gave a tweet giving him a little love on the DGB account, and I shared it. And it was, a picture of me and a little animation I created of me and him and Tim Draper at one of the events. And I appreciate him because he's good at arguing and he'll roll with it in a friendly way.
And Alon, just follow up what you said. You could tag your ages at different times, so you could have different versions of you your kids could load up.
That's pretty cool. That's a good idea. I want to talk to 18-year-old version of my dad, the one I never got to meet. That's cool. That's fun. The 18-year-old version of me would tell you that every single band and every kind of music except for the band Bad Religion was stupid. I basically had the same politics, but I probably would have thought that I'm a butthole for not being a better environmentalist now as an adult. What else would that version of me think? Oh, wait, let's see what Kevin's adding here. Because I wanted to be an environmentalist.
Not anymore. Now you just pollute the environment, don't you? Hold on.
Respectful for you to come to the open exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come to the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of the country?
Trump is so
Let's
happy.
start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
that.
You will not have
gotta,
war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on this
position to
question.
dictate that.
That's exactly
Remember
what
this.
you're doing.
I'm not
You're in
dictating.
no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
You
We're
will-
going to feel very
you will
good.
feel influenced.
We're going to feel very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed
From the
yourself
very-
to be in a
from
very
the
bad
very
position,
beginning
and
of
he
the
happens
war.
to be right about
From the
it.
very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a
Brown,
good position.
I
You don't
was-
have the cards right now. With us, you start
I'm
having
not playing
cards.
cards.
Right now, you don't.
I'm very
Yeah, you're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War III.
What do you
You're
think about?
gambling with
What do you
World
think
War
about?
III. And
Yeah.
what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country.
I'm
That's
with
back
all
to
respect to
you.
you.
Far more than a lot of people said
I'm very
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once this
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting, have
today.
you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you
He's
can...
not speaking loudly. He's not
Yeah.
speaking loudly. Your country's
Can I-
in big
can I-
trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No.
Can
You've
I
done a lot
answer?
of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not
I
winning.
know.
You're not winning this.
I
You have a damn
We-
good chance of
we are
coming out
staying,
okay because of
Mr.
us.
President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet.
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
allowed.
in this
We
cabinet.
gave you, through
I
this
said
stupid
thank you.
president, $350 billion.
You voted
We gave
for
you
your
military equipment.
You
And your
voted
men
for
are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
What about
If you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me-
equipment,
You invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak.
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3
okay?
days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I
Again,
tell
you
you.
just say thank you.
I said a lot of
accept
times
that
thank
there,
you
accept
to
that,
American people.
accept that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
I
over
understand,
there.
sir.
I think it's
I
very
understand.
important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the
I'm
cards.
thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are dying.
tell you
You're
again,
running
I
low
know.
on soldiers.
Don't-
Listen,
don't, please,
you're running
Mr.
low on
President.
soldiers. It would be a damn good thing.
Mr.
And then
President.
then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go and I wanted this. Look, if you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're
I
saying
said-
you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a
with
ceasefire.
guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
All right. That's enough. It goes on for like twice as
I don't
long.
know what the point of that was, other than
That was to explain the reference because Alon didn't know what I was talking about, looking at me like saying something.
Kevin,
Same
come on,
reference.
I
bro.
don't know why
Hmm?
we should just say thank
And you didn't know either. You didn't watch it either before.
Well, but it didn't matter. It didn't make sense to us what we were talking about.
Come on,
Well, you
bro.
were tuned out. I was making a reference before, and then
Yeah.
that was the thing, and Alon didn't
Say
know.
thank
And
you.
then when I brought it up, you were like, now you're like, what are you talking about? So yeah, that was his whole shtick. I think it was more like JD Vance took it too far, and then Trump wanted to look stronger than him, so he had to take it even farther. But if
Trump-
you actually watch before that, it was really respectful before that. There were no problems at all. And then JD Vance like, okay.
Trump was loving it though. He got too much joy of JD Vance
Putin was
ripping.
loving it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, and
The
they
whole-
tweeted. Medvedev replied, tweeted immediately. He's like, finally, somebody puts that something in his place, and blah blah blah. Like, and just like, and then there are a lot of clips of like the Russian media and how they showed that, and
I'm
like,
sure.
just making it look like kind of like everything's in their favor now.
Yeah,
You know,
I bought this
to
at San
demoralize the
Diego Bay.
opposition.
that's a cool hat. I like it.
very
Guys,
shiny.
I have to get going. Are you guys keeping the stream going, or we
No.
rounding this out?
It's good. We're gonna call it a quit.
All right,
Sure.
we'll call it a day.
Thanks for
Everyone, thank
watching,
you
Dave.
so much for joining.
Bye.
Sorry I didn't get the reference, Kevin. Everyone,
do.
go to DGB, all that stuff. I already told you guys earlier. Follow Kevin at K Marabi. Follow all the DGB stuff. Follow Zuda at
Zuda's World.
Zuda's World on Twitter and everywhere else. Peace out, everyone. See you next week.
Bye-bye.